And for the last thing here, we have level. So it's asking to return to home, confirm. And look at that, there's 100 points to level. And actually it is the next step in the manual, is to run this automatic bed leveling so you can take measurements, and we should be able to set the offset, and then we'll see how much difference it is between all of the points, and see if we need to take further action and actually manually adjust it with the screws and the special build plate that comes with it, where you can access the screws while adjusting it, which goes in detail here of how to do that. So having a bed like this is definitely more complicated than just a normal one piece bed, as there's 4 different plates and they all have to be pretty level. So we'll see here in a bit as this thing sets up for taking the measurements. So it actually is heating up the 4 build plates, which is probably taking a lot of power right now, as we have our 4 power supplies on this end working harder. And actually I can kind of feel it's warm under there. Let's see how our plug feels. Oh yeah, it definitely feels a little warm. I mean, it's just slightly warm. And this is a pretty thick cord, so it should be fine. And this plug is barely warm. Seems like we got pretty good power flow. And this outlet actually is really close to the electrical box, which is literally behind this wall. So I'm not too worried about it, as it's quite close to it. And we should be good with this really power hungry printer. And surprisingly, it doesn't take as long as you would think to heat all this up, depending, ambient, but it's not bad, as we have 4 power supplies, 1 for each bed. So it looks like it's going all the way over here. And yeah, pretty hard to film this thing, as it's hiding behind a lot of frame here, and it's quite low where it's at. So yeah, the Z-axis makes some noise. It's got some rumble to it. I wonder if these are lubed. Oh yeah, they're definitely lubed. Shouldn't be an issue. I guess it's just the motors here working through the frame. You can kind of hear them. Yeah, and that's lubed too, I can see. So yeah, everything seems to be okay. And here back on the screen we can see we're filling in. So we got 100 total, so we're done with 10 and about 90 to go. So yeah, so it's actually pretty quick for how big this thing is. Alright, so we're coming to an end. As we can see, all of our points are filled in. A couple more. Alright, we get a new menu. The printer is homing. And it's set up for us to do the offset. And here it kind of shows you, you can't be too close, can't be too far. You got to be just right. And so we have more coarse movements, then up and down here. And then when you're done, you're going to click confirm. So I'm going to use a normal sheet of paper. We're going to put it underneath the nozzle. And actually, guys, let's break this whole screen down here, which is kind of convenient. It's on a cord. Since we are down here, it'll be easier than going up and down, up and down. But yeah, we do need to go down. Maybe you guys can see quite a bit, actually. So that means we're going to click on the 1mm and start going down slowly. Well, I guess it won't be slowly, but as you guys can see, we need to go a lot. Okay, so we're getting close. I think I might go one more time. Let's see how that feels. Okay, it's still loose. So now we're going to turn to 0.1mm and start going down. So we're already 7mm lower, which this number doesn't really matter. What matters is the gap between the nozzle and the bed. So let's start going down on the 0.1. And every time we go down, we're going to feel the paper. Should be getting close, but it's still not tightened up. So I'm going to do a double here. Okay, so I guess we needed a little more than I thought. Okay, so now we're too tight. Go back up. Now that we know we're very close, we're going to go to 0.01mm. So right now we're way too loose. So we're going to start going down slowly. Still too loose. Okay, I think it's starting to tighten up maybe. Okay, that's odd because we're getting close to where it was tight. Okay, yeah, there we go. 7.990. And that feels almost perfect. Let's see if we go down one. Okay, actually that's perfect. Which is surprising because earlier when we went to 8, it felt too tight. So that just tells me it might not be as precise as we think. But yeah, this feels really good. And if we look at the nozzle, I don't know if you guys can see, but it's literally really close to the build plate. So that should be good right there. And so if we're happy, we're going to click with confirm. And we ended up being minus 8mm exactly, which is quite interesting. Let's confirm. And so here, we have a lot of numbers, and these are all the numbers that the nozzle took, all the points from all the 4 different build plates. And what we're looking at here is the difference between them. So if we have a really huge difference, especially for numbers that are close, we probably need to adjust the build plate. But if they're all relatively close, I mean, we only have 0.5 millimeter, looks like at the most. Well, I guess 0.6 if you go from this corner to that, but that's very far away, so that's okay. So yeah, honestly, I don't see anything that's way off. Everything is very close. So the issue would be if you started going into the 1 millimeters or more, that would be definitely way off. I mean, you could fine tune some of these areas here, because this corner here looks a little high compared to the ones beside them. Most corners here are kind of high. This corner is actually kind of low. And then we got the corner of that one up there, which is this one here. Yeah, I can actually even feel it. And that's the 0.54 there, that it's a little high. So I guess let's go ahead and save this data. Save. So it's going to reset the printer and save everything. That way when it prints, it knows how much to bring the nozzle up and down as it goes through the build plate. Now if we're going to adjust the platform measurements, we're going to have to redo the level again. So, but let's go ahead and do platform measurement, because we do need to fix a few points here. And here it says a little note that turning the bolt counterclockwise, so backwards, a whole turn will move the build plate up 0.7 millimeters. So it looks like we need to turn it about half. And so to lower it, you obviously will tighten it, and that'll make it go down. So let's go to the number 1 here. But what we haven't done yet is we haven't changed our plate, which we can still pull it out. And we'll grab one of these leveling plates. Actually, let's move our nozzle completely out of the way. Go to the other side. We can go ahead and install this plate. Now we can see all the bolts through there. Let's go back to 1, and it actually remembers where you've been. And it also shows you the real-time measurement. Oh, that's interesting. So we're going to need an Allen wrench. So we know that going counterclockwise raises it. So let's go about half a turn here, and I'm going to use the stem as a reference. So we raised it. So let's go back to 1 and see what happens. Now again, you guys can see we don't have much area to raise, so we just need to raise the zone. I mean, it's not detailed. There's only 3, 6, 9 bolts total. So it's coming down. And now it's showing that we're actually a lot higher. And that's probably too high, so we need to lower that down. So let's go to number 2. Let's kind of move it out of the way. So I'm going to turn this back about a quarter. So on number 2, we can see the measurement there. Let's go back to 1. Okay, so it dropped. So that should be pretty good, but let's go ahead and check these 2. So 5 and 6 to kind of get a better idea of what's going on in this whole area. Yeah, and that looks pretty good, I think. We could go down just a bit on both of those. Actually, let's go up and see what happens. What's over here? Technically, you could just go through all of it and see. Now, again, these build plates are different, so the measurement might be just a tiny bit off. Yeah, and that one's actually a lot higher. So I guess we could lower this just a little bit. So I'm just going to go less than a quarter, because I'm unsure. And these will go just a tiny bit on both of them. And let's measure again. So yeah, as you guys can see, it's pretty intuitive. It's not hard. As you keep doing it here, it keeps refreshing the offset. So yeah, that went down just a bit. Let's go back to 6. All right, and that went down too. And that went down too. So we can see we can go down a little more on that one, tiny bit on this one, and a little more on that one. So yeah, you guys get the idea of how to do this. And it's not hard at all. So I'm gonna go around and check everything, pre-adjust every one. And I just have to remove the plate and then put the leveling plate. And it does come with 2 of them, but I think I'm just going to use 1. That way it's more accurate, as the thickness could be a little different on 2 different ones. So, alright, so I'm just going to go around this whole thing and just check them all. And then adjust them accordingly. And like I said, I'm going to do all of the sections. And you guys will see that it's quite straightforward and very easy to figure out. Alright, so I finished all of them. And the reason these here are not colored in like the other ones is because I did these 2 and then went away, took a break, came back, and the screen was frozen, so I had to restart it. And then did these 2. But what's more important, if you look at all these numbers, you can see how close they are together, meaning they're not very far off each other. And that's the whole point of doing this. It's actually pretty simple. It just takes a lot of time to adjust each bolt, and you got to double check, keep checking, round and round. So all of these are done. I still have that leveling plate on that side. I'm going to raise the Z 100 millimeters so I can pull that plate out. And we'll put the PEI sheet back in. The main thing I noticed, and I don't know if you guys be able to tell, but before all of these didn't line up so well. They weren't flush, but now they're ultra flush. Like you can't even feel the groove. They're so flush. So it's practically perfect here between all the cracks, which is exactly what you want for a perfect smooth surface to print over all of them. So now we can level it again, and it's basically going to go through this whole 100 points again, and we'll see what it comes up with. But this time, compared to last time, it wasn't as perfect and had some pretty big offsets. But yeah, we should be really close this time, but let's see what happens. Alright, so we're finish up our last ones. As we can see here, they're all filled in. Now we're going to do the same thing with the paper. So we're going to have to go even lower. We're already at -8, if you guys remember. And the reason for that is I lowered all the plates down by tightening them when I adjusted them, so they went down just a tiny bit. Let's find out by how much. I guess let's start with this middle one. Go down, and that's actually too tight. Back to the 0.01 and go up a couple. Yep, still too tight. Okay, so it was a lot closer than I thought. And ironically, we're back at where we were, and it's tight now, so maybe we should just leave it where it's at. That is quite odd. Well, let's see if I can go up a lot more here. Yeah, so it's definitely too loose. Let's go down a couple now. Okay, now it's loose. So yeah, it's not as precise as I thought it would be. So there's like a 0.01 play in the whole system, which kind of makes sense. It's a huge printer, a tiny little play. It's very possible as the teeth on these belts are farther away and the motors are probably not as accurate for this size printer. So we basically only went down 0.01, and the paper feels really good there. So I think that's pretty good. Let's confirm, and now we get to see all of our numbers and how much we are off. And if you guys look, they're really close. They are super close now, way closer than they were before. So yeah, I'm very happy. That's actually excellent. So we got a very large and very flat build plate now. So let's click save data. And so now the printer is going to use this offsets as it prints.